I was saying that
Wait, I'm Bonnie.
I'm Amani.
Hi.
Hi.
You were saying what?
We've decided, we haven't decided, if there's only consciousness.
Yes.
Yes.
If there's only consciousness.
Then really there's no way. There's no teaching, there's no teacher.
Right.
All there is being, and then anything other than that, any exerted energy into anything only would take you away from that thing itself.
Yes.
Bottom line, right? Correct?
If all there is consciousness, then everything that is not just being is illusion.
Like a simulation of the mind.
Yeah, but it's doing that because we got bored. Like, I think the consciousness got bored. So it's almost like it created a game. Pronouns are hard. This is confusing.
That's okay.
So, but I hate the smell of that. Could you
Okay,
put it?
yes. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
I didn't think it was coming out.
Oh, yeah, it's fine.
I'm sorry.
You're fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I've said that a little bit more forcefully than I should have because 3 times my nose was like, I really don't want to be breathing this in. And I was not saying anything just for the sake of the conversation in the video. And then it came out a little bit forcefully because it was like to the point where like it was really like impacting
I'm glad you said so.
But that's why we have problems with passive aggressiveness, is because people do damage to themselves not saying something because they think that they're not supposed to, for whatever reason that they made that up. And then it explodes when they can't take it anymore. And that's really like people not feeling free to like get their needs met. Mm-hmm. Like is really the cause of passive aggressiveness.
It's like a codependence, not wanting to hurt someone else's feelings over. You don't want to hurt their feelings because my thing, right? Correct, in a way.
Well,
I have it. That's why I see it, because I have it.
So it happens with, I think this is the way the pattern works, is that we don't meet our own needs because we think we're not supposed to, that we think we're supposed to be focused on other people's needs. And so we let it go and we let it go. And then it gets to the point where we're weakened and we're taking care of the other person because that's the cycle that we've gotten into, and we have to keep feeling like we're earning our place in that dynamic. So we have to keep stepping up our game or something like that. And then where was I? Your recognition distracted me. What was I saying? Passive aggressiveness leads to codependency because when you're taking care of someone else, you then depend on them to take care of you. Because you can't take care of someone else unless you're also taking care of yourself.
Right.
The way that it works is to fully nourish yourself to the point where you're feeling lots of vitality and it's like, there is a tree on Vashon Island, I think that's how you pronounce it, in Washington, where some kid, I think, got home from school one day and leaned his bike up against a tree because he didn't have a kickstand and forgot about it or lost it or whatever. And then the bike was leaning so hard onto the tree that the tree couldn't shake it off. And it grew into the tree. The tree just grew into it. It accepted it. It accepted it as a part of itself. They were no longer able to be separated at some point because that dynamic had just grown. The roots were holding the bike up and supporting the bike, and the bike was part of the tree. It couldn't let go. So, right. I don't remember why I was telling you that other than I thought of, in a codependent relationship, we sort of like, we give up our kickstand, right? Because when you put the kickstand on a bike down, it totally leans away.
Right.
When you're standing up on your own, you're not just standing straight. You're like a tripod now. And you can't do that if somebody's arm's around your waist. You cannot stand on your own if somebody's arm's around your waist. And we end up in these dynamics where we're accommodating the fact that somebody's around our waist. So we develop strength in other ways, which makes us look really awkward when we no longer have that thing, right? So, like, if we took the tree, if we forcibly remove the bike from the tree would look really awkward.
Right.
And it would, like, no longer have vitality because that thing had become part of it.
Yeah, the tree's going to have to let it go or keep it.
So that's why people that don't have any spaciousness to, like, stand up on their own, that don't have a kickstand, have such a hard time getting out of abusive codependent relationships. And we don't stand up for our needs, which is like this American pattern of like, it's probably Canadian and I know the UK too. But people like, it's just, the whole thing of you have to put the mask on yourself first, because if you can't breathe, you can't help other people breathe. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's very much like that. Yeah. Self-care is, is not optional, because if you have a wound, the wound must heal, because if the wound doesn't heal, it festers, and it's really unsustainable to walk around wounded.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were we talking about, though? I forget. Because that's not at all why we started this video.
No, I was enjoying that though. We were talking about consciousness. Yeah.
Every time we hang out, we end up writing just a little bit more of, like, the book of knowledge, wisdom. I don't even know what it is. The downloads from the universe.
Yeah, there we go. I like that.
Good download partners. Those were all downloads I had for you.
I was gonna say something regarding the codependent relationship thing. I don't remember.
I don't either. And there was a lot of stuff about getting out of relationships like that that's really important. Oh, I could talk about that now. So if you want to get out of a codependent, abusive relationship where you're probably using substances to, like, manage your existence in it, we talk about substance abuse. We don't talk about the dynamics that are keeping substance abuse, right? So we need, like, nourishment centers or gardens of Eden, you know, where people can come and get their primary needs nourished and taken care of. So that they can grow kickstands and they can learn to balance on themselves, and they can learn what balance feels like, and they can learn what lack of balance feels like. Because part of the actual recovery process is relapse.
Right.
Like, we don't talk about that. Like, you were saying earlier on a video that I don't think this is, you were saying earlier about the Garden of Eden, and, like, we had to, oh, you didn't say we had to, but
okay.
say that thing, can you remember? That was great.
We have to come from a place of knowing, like, let's just say suffering. We have to be in that and then get out of it, and sometimes go back to that so we can discern.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Discernment.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So we can teach people resilience and discernment.
Right.
And clearing of cognitive dissonance. Because when you're drinking to the point where you're passing out, there's cognitive dissonance, or you're completely and totally unaware of your actions because you're so numb.
Almost completely unaware,
Yeah.
Feeling so much shame, you can't really be clear.
Yeah, so clearing shame is the thing. And it's ridiculous. We're one consciousness. What the hell are we ashamed of? We're ashamed of our own assholes. Like,
I don't know how that happened.
I don't either. You know, interestingly, the work we can do on our own is interesting that it just totally slipped out of my mind. I got super self-conscious that I realized my face had been cut off. I'd been out of the frame. And then I completely forgot what I was saying. What was I saying? Oh, we can question everything we know was one of the things that I wasn't saying, but also, so what is it? It's question everything you know, and I don't remember what I was saying. Oh well.
Yeah, I like that.
It.
Question everything you know, like your ideas behind it, your conditioning. Is that, like, kind of goes into that?
Yeah, totally. Because I'm trying to see if that calls. That's better.
Conditioning.
Yeah. And codependency and needing the nourishment centers. Oh well,
yeah,
at least we can go back to that. So the nourishment centers, it's probably a bad name for it, but well, somebody told me they didn't like the center part of it, but the nourishment was good. So maybe we need a better name, but whatever they are. It's places where you can get your needs met, unpack your stuff, see what it feels like to understand your mechanisms and be able to disrupt those patterns on your own. And like really understand the mechanisms that run things to the point where you're also in training to be a teacher of leading people out of the thing that you just got yourself into.
Right.
So it's a training program for people to teach people how to do resiliency and discernment while they're already still substance abusers, you know?
Right.
And it's like, my theory is that you don't have to tell people that they can't do things. That if you just give them a reason to, like, need to be sober and grow, people just don't have a reason to grow. You know, part of the cognitive dissonance thing is Do you know how lobsters grow? Have we talked about how lobsters grow? So there's like this really great, I think it's like a 2-minute video of this rabbi who talks about lobsters. Google it, rabbi and how lobsters grow. But the gist of it is that a lobster is a squishy animal that's inside of a rigid shell. And in order for it to grow, it has to feel uncomfortable. That's the signal for it to grow. Because the squishy part of the lobster gets pressed up against the hard shell and it gets uncomfortable. It has to then go find a safe space to bury itself for a while so it can shed its shell and grow a new one. And his point is if lobsters had doctors, we'd only have tiny lobsters because they wouldn't grow.
Right.
My point is if you don't have a safe space to go bury yourself and you don't have the resources to make a new shell, you just deal with the discomfort of not growing and you drink or use video games or eat or porn or gamble or buy cryptocurrency or whatever. You do all these things to distract yourself from your experience being alive.
Yeah, I know the mind will bluff you too. Like you'll think whatever it is creating happiness because you're trying to numb out whatever you're hiding from, whatever the reality is. But once you enter into that reality, or once you clear yourself of that, you see that it was not making you happy at all.
Right.
But
Well,
it takes time because the mind will just keep bluffing and one trick after the next to keep you in to whatever that addiction is. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I think that's just part of errant programming. I don't. But yeah, when you were talking, I was thinking about a thing. When we're born, our paradox matrix starts to absorb information from our reality really quickly because we can incarnate, right? If you incarnated you've seen the shows where they teleport to different timelines, right? So, or time travel. So Heroes, if you incarnate in a war zone, you need to start doing different things. You need to learn to be quiet. You need to learn to self-soothe. That's important stuff. And you would probably absorb all that stuff from people around you. You'd find the vibe.
Right.
Your paradox matrix finds the vibe of the time. I like that.
Yeah, totally does.
Your paradox matrix finds the vibe of the time and downloads all the programming that it can to keep you safe. Because, there's some substance here, right? This is a resource, right? There's this is a lot of engineering machinery. And if every time we incarnated, we got killed right away and we never grew to maturity, we're like trees, right? Trees take a really long time to mature before they can start feeling probably all the other, we're the trees. Maybe we're the trees. Maybe when we're sleeping, we go back to tree world. And during the day, we're playing out this reality, this simulated game. Maybe we're sleeping trees.
In the end, we
the
are
Church
the
of the
trees.
Sleeping Trees. Maybe that would be a good code name for my get-togethers, the Church of the Sleeping Trees. I wonder if I can create a unified theory around that. I don't know. But I think we're at the beginning of a new renaissance, where we're no longer as worried about what things look like. We're more worried about what things are like.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I think that's probably the beginning of a renaissance period always.
Probably. Huh.
That's why we're making more art. I mean, that's the thing to do when we start caring more about things what are like. We're trying to create a language to speak to each other. If I want to tell you what my experience of being alive is like, my words are not going to be the way I'm going to do it.
Right.
They're just not.
Very limiting, huh?
Very limiting. So, but with art and music, we can tell people a lot better. What our experience of being alive is like. And, and also that stuff, the trees can hear the music. That's why the music's so important.
They can.
Yeah, because it's a shared language with the trees. They can play music
vibration.
Too. Dom and Her, Italy, they hook electrodes up to trees or plants, and the plants play music, and then people can play music, and the plants will accompany you. They're very much paying attention to what's going on. I think that we could be the sleeping trees.
Yeah, plants are very intelligent, actually, now that you say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, think about, mycelium that goes through the ground that's searching for nutrients.
I'm not sure that those are plants.
Oh, Mother Nature.
Yeah, but no, mycelium, I think that might be like a third, like another biological entity. You know, so
Okay,
back
how
when
about those plants that they move in a circle like this to try to find a host? So there's this plant that moves in a circle and it's, I don't know if it smells, but then it latches onto a second plant.
Oh, cool.
But it moves like this.
Huh.
In a circle until it finds which direction
Yeah,
to
why
find.
are we searching outer space trying to find other life? It's right here.
Right here.
The aliens are all here. You can't look at like you can't look at a there's so many creatures that are here to try to talk to. Clearly the dolphins and the whales are trying to tell us something. They've been cleaning up all the plastic so that the little fish aren't all dying. You know, I don't know if they're doing it on purpose, and they're also eating the little fish, which are full of plastic. So I like romanticizing this, that they're like, you know, going out of their way to eat all this plastic to save all the other fish, but I don't know how true that is.
I like it too.
But they're clearly trying to tell us something. They all are. You know, they're all trying to tell us something. I don't know, spiders been coming up to you and talking to you? Spiders just come up to me and they just like, they talk to me and their little mouths are moving and I can't hear anything and I don't really know what's going on. But the download that I get every single time from them and from horses is, you've fucked up. Let me out. Like, it's just like, you know, they want like out of this bizarro world that we're in because we're totally fucking them up. You know, like we fuck up life for spiders so badly. And they're our friends. Like, if we treated spiders and bees like our friends, we'd be okay. Well, we do treat them like our friends. We treat our friends terribly, too.
We do, don't we?
But that's because we don't think we're lovable. I mean, it's this, all wounds must heal. It's unsustainable to walk around wounded, and this mother wound of, like, you know, we're ripped from our mother's womb, right? We don't get the attachment that we need right away. We don't get the breastfeeding that we need. We don't immediately get all that stuff. The paradox matrix records that as wartime.
Right, huh?
You know? Unless you're deeply, deeply nourished, held at a very high vibration, very super peaceful, paradox matrix registers it as wartime. And then you have all this stuff that you have to deal with because it's wartime.
Yeah, you're totally right.
And the war's not out there, it's between us, you know? It's the things that we can't accept in ourselves that we also can't accept as a reflection in others.
In us, not between us. In us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which then reflects into between us.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, if we looked at ourselves like the dogs, was the dog thing on the video? The dog being the universe?
I think so.
Was it? I don't know.
I don't know either. Go back to it and remind me.
No, I don't know. It doesn't matter. But remember I was saying before that, like, I think a dog is like this universe of like, well, so, I mean, if you do with us, you know, like, they know that 9 out of 10 cells in the human body are not human DNA. They're microbes. So we are universes. Dogs go out of their way to cultivate their universes. Like, they whatever forces them to go, like, that thing they have to go lick right now, like, they're driven to do that. And so they have these rich universes inside of them with all these microbes and all these parasites and all these other things. It's a universe. As much as, like, you know, the Andromeda galaxy, like, right? As much as, like, the stars out there are universes, we're universes. Like, yeah, so we're in, each one of us is a universe that's interacting with other universes. Every dog is a universe. I'm sure every squirrel is a universe. Clearly every mammal is, because that's one of the things that we share, right? Is this microbiome.
I think of it a little different, but yeah, I agree with you.
But in a way, we're all these, like, we're gods that are interacting.
What I think is that, like, and it seems like everything's a projection of the mind. All of it on a... So, like, we all decide on this together, collectively, on what's what.
I think there's some of that, too.
So it's like, so not only are we the universe, but, like, we are it, and then the mind projects everything. You know what I mean? From the universe.
Yes.
That's why we'll never be able to figure out, we'll never get, like, put our finger on, like, the way the world was created, or how things really work, because it's always changing. It's from the mind.
Have you seen the TV show Once Upon a Time? So the premise of this TV show is that they all of the the Disney characters come to life. Not Disney, but all of the fairy tales come to life. So like Hook and
Oh, I've heard of it.
yeah, okay. So they cast a spell where they created this town, and if you dig too deep into the programming of the town, you kept finding all these paradoxes because there was no beginning.
Boom. That's exactly what I'm saying.
I know.
Yeah. And that's why I think
Yeah.
it's futile. Like everyone's trying to
Completely futile.
figuring everything out.
Because we're just one consciousness.
Yeah, that's
this
it.
This is
Yeah.
all, but in the knowing of that, you still want to understand the mechanisms that run it so that you can explain it to other people that are suffering.
Right.
I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for, I find a kid on the side of the road who is drunk, who just lost his father. This happened. Who just lost his father. His father was giving him a really, really cushy life. His father died. He got evicted. He's homeless. He was literally wearing the very same sweatshirt I'm wearing, but it was like a different teenage brand. It was like exactly the same sweatshirt, but with a different thing on it. And he's wearing, like $300 shoes or something like that, but he's homeless. He's literally about to go hang himself from the bridge. Like, that's what his plan was. And I ran into him, and I was with my friend Ben, and we talked to him for, like, a long time. But I would like, in the hour that I have generally with people like that, to be able to explain life, the universe, and everything in a way that gives them an understanding of it, so that when they walk away, they're not suffering as much. Like, just a seed. I'm working on a self-nurturing, self-expanding, at the right time seed that cognitive dissonance doesn't kill. It's like a GMO seed.
Right. The thing I've noticed with that's helped me the most is like most of the time people get into that state of mind, right? I have too. Like, it's like shame, guilt, all those things. So we're not those things, right? We're like this consciousness, and really like we're innocent. Right, because any action that we make is from a conditioning of some pain, like some wound. Like you said, it's conditioned off that. So really, in the end, like from Trump to the Rothschilds, whoever the we're all innocent, even mostly.
That's one way to get at it.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
and if you don't buy into that, there's other ways. But
yeah. So looking at someone purely through, like, as they are innocent, that's helped me relay the message to them. Not even no message though, just seeing them, being present, and seeing them for who they really are, that innocent, beautiful being. And that's helped me. Yeah. That's one way.
Yeah, that is one way.
Because it gets hard to try to, like, I'm the same way. I'm like, this is not real.
Right.
Like, but wait, it feels real.
Right, it feels very real.
It's hard.
Well, the more you,
I mean, the experience is real. It's not like we're not experiencing
Right.
things. I know I'm experiencing. It's just the essence of what I'm experiencing. I don't find valid, like, it's constantly changing all the time, from my thoughts to the sun to how I feel about people. Everything's changing all the time. Obviously, that's not reality, because reality is like this constant, beautiful thing. So, yeah. If that makes sense. Maybe that was a little far out there.
I was somewhere. You said you said two things. One was something about innocence. Guilt and innocence is a false dichotomy. So there's multiple ways out of that pattern. You have a good way. That way works for you. Another way out of the pattern is recognizing that guilty and innocent is a false dichotomy, and that if you want to look for evidence that you're guilty or innocent, you will find the evidence. And if you want to look for evidence that you are not, you will find the evidence, because it's a false dichotomy.
Right.
That's another way out of it. Another way out of it
Thank you.
is to fall in love with yourself. To find all of the things in you that were unlovable, that you thought were unlovable, and then it took me 10 or 20 years, so this is like the long, slow way, but to find all of the conversations that need to be had, all of the love that needs to be given, everything that needs to be said, everything that needs to be done, everything that needs to be felt, all can get dissolved, so that all the blockages from really fully loving yourself are gone, which is putting on your own mask first, right? And then it's just really easy to love everybody because they're not doing anything that triggers you. So I find in Ashland, I am triggered by very few people. I find in New Jersey, I am triggered by more people. I also had the experience of somebody yelling at me. I was in New Jersey. Did I tell you this story? It was in New Jersey. It was in New Jersey, just in the fall. And I was looking at my phone. I have my glasses on. I was looking at my phone. I'm sitting in a parking spot, and there's a woman who's parked this way. Like, I'm parked this way, and she's parked this way. So she's looking right into my window, right? And this guy had been in the car, and she had not been in the car, and then she went and got in the car, and I wasn't really looking at anything. I was typing, and then I just looked up to just sort of like look up, to just to clear, my neck was hurting. I just looked up, and she says, "What are you looking at?" I think was how she said it. And I didn't realize she was talking to me, because like I wasn't really, I was writing, I wasn't really paying attention. And she goes, "Yo, you, Four Eyes." I forget the accent. I think I did it a lot better when it first happened.
Yo, Four Eyes.
No, it wasn't quite. It was, I think I can do it. She was like, "Yo, Four Eyes." That's how it was. And I look up and I'm like, "Me?" And I forget exactly what she said. I forget what the next line was. It was something not nice. I don't remember what it was, though. And my response was, "I love you. I love you." And then she says, "I love you, too." That was her response. Because I really did. I sent her a bucket of love of light. Like, I found all the love that was, like, deep in my gut. And, like, it came right out of my mouth. I didn't do it on purpose, I swear. It was, like, my reflex. It's like if a ball's coming at you, you go catch it. It was that kind of reflex. And it's a reflex that always wants to be there. We suppress it. Like, to do the right thing for us. But to do the right thing for us in this bizarro world, like, doesn't look so good. And our paradox matrix doesn't let us do it because we're born into a world of war.
Right.
It's that simple.
Yeah, the paradox matrix creates bluffs.
I think we can reset the paradox matrix by spending enough time in peace and bliss. And that's what I was talking about, the nourishment centers. It's a place to reset your paradox matrix. Really.
Right.
So that it's programmed into love, but then where the hell do you live? Because if the rest of the world is programmed in war, then you just need, like, safe zones in Edens, Gardens of Eden, for people who have their paradox matrix set to peace.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise people get trampled.
Not always. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but
Agreed.
I think part of
and people who
spiritual
can
growth,
walk the world.
Part of spiritual growth is, like, finding that that space, but like
but it can take a couple of years to really, like, have the brain pathways. It's sort of like if you've got a forest and you've walked through the forest, you create a little bit of a path. It's the same. Our brain works exactly the same way. Neuroplasticity, it's a really good metaphor. So when you have a thought, it creates a brain pathway, just like a path in the forest.
Mm-hmm.
In the forest, if you stop walking that path, it'll start to overgrow in that area. But if you walk that path for a long time, it takes years for it start to overgrow because it's so trampled.
Right.
Right? Same thing in your brain.
Yep, couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Great analogy.
Thank you. So the most recent, bad behaviors that you pick up or habits that you want to break the cycle of, they'll be the easiest to let go of because you don't have there's not too much of the brain pathways. But, like, if you started, like, a habit, like, oh gosh, I've never said this on video. I could. Wow, this used to be my deepest, darkest secret. I could totally say it in public on YouTube. I don't care anymore. It's important. I'm not going to tell the whole story. The short story is there's a thing called trichotillomania, which is pulling your hair out for the release of pent-up energy. It's sort of like you get a little hit of dopamine when you do it. It's like cutting. And I totally used to over-tweeze my eyebrows and other parts of me, but you can see that's why my eyebrows like that. Because I like
it. It looks like a battle scar.
Really?
Yeah.
It is a battle scar.
Yeah, I like it.
and coming out of it so that I have eyebrows again.
Yeah,
that was one of my most private battles that I overcame. And
right.
And getting to the point where I love myself enough that, like, I can't do that because it hurts me. And, like, the level of healing that I had to go through for that. That was 25 years right there. Almost 25 years of therapy at work to be able to say that on public video.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I got a handle on it within the last couple of years, where it's just, like, not been, there's no trauma around it personally anymore. but still admitting it, you know, and there's like no shame there. It's a thing I did. We're all one consciousness. We all share the same wound. I'm working on wound healing. That's what time it is. It's time to heal all our wounds because we can't raise our vibes unless we do.
I agree.
And our most wounded people, like, we can't just ignore them. It doesn't work that way. And if they die, their wounds come back in new forms that have to be healed, you know? And until we let people be born into joy and bliss and not fuck that up for at least, you know, enough so that the forest is a nice growth without crazy paths going through it, we're going to continue to see the kinds of patterns that we have. But we can break them. It's just a matter of, like, you know, having a having a healthy thing go viral. You know, seeing, instead of people eating Tide Pods, which I swear to God was a marketing ploy. I did not see the Super Bowl commercials, but if there were any Super Bowl commercials that referred to Tide Pods, I guarantee you,
I wouldn't be surprised
that whole fucking thing was like, because the TV news stations are owned by the same people that own the products. There's somebody sitting in some boardroom somewhere figuring how we can make more money by integrating more of these things, you know, and seeing exactly how the internet works and like really mastering getting things to go viral. There are people that are doing that.
Oh, yeah.
This
Friends,
Tide Pod thing from the beginning has been like, why? What? I think these news stories are fake. I think these news stories are fake.
Yeah, I think most of the news is fake.
And then it becomes a real thing.
Yeah.
So we created fake news stories that created real people being copycats, being stupid and dying, so that we could have a successful campaign for the Super Bowl.
Tide Pod?
That sounds actually more plausible to me than all of these people suddenly eating laundry pods.
Me too.
Honestly, that just seems more plausible, you know. Or some kid went to the emergency room because they'd eaten one by mistake. That was the first thing in the paper. And then we had all the copycats. Maybe they started out innocently. Let me not get sued by Tide. Don't sue me. I don't have any money. I live in my car. Well, all my stuff is in my car. I don't sleep in my car unless I'm traveling. And yeah, but anyway, are we complete?
Yeah, there was one thing I'm plagiarizing. I heard this analogy about letting go of addictions. I love it. So, there's I think I've told you this before, maybe. There's a town in India, and a monkey's going crazy, terrorizing the town. They call a specialist in, so to help get rid of the monkey or solve the problem. So the specialist hangs a coconut from a tree, drills a hole in the bottom, and puts a really ripe banana in there. And he hides in the bushes, and the little monkey comes up, right? Here's the coconut. He puts his hand in the coconut, and his hand gets stuck. He can't do anything, right? So now the monkey guy can do whatever he wants with him. The analogy is like he's stuck because he wants the ripe banana.
Right.
Right? And if he just would let go of the banana, he could just slip his hands right out.
Right.
Right?
Because he got it in.
Because he got it in. So he just wants,
right.
And that's how I see cigarettes and all those things for me. It's like, when I'm ready to let those go, like I'm suffering over it and I want it, but I'm not ready to let it go, and I have to come to that. And, like, hey, I don't need this.
My treatment plan is get somebody fully nourished.
I plagiarized that, by the way. Okay, I took that from someone else.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay.
I think we're coming to a time where plagiarism's not a thing, where we know that we're all one consciousness and that we're freely sharing.
I liked it a lot, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hear you.
Okay.
I think, I told you about the lobster thing.
You did.
Yeah, it's okay to use other people's stories, and it's okay if you don't remember where they come from, as long as you say, I heard the story once. So, and I think when we know who the thing was, whatever the rabbi's name on YouTube. But anyway, what was I saying? You were talking about the monkey and the thing. So my treatment plan is, it's what I did for myself, to get myself over the trichotillomania. Is I got myself nourished, I got myself well, I let my wounds heal, and then I fell in love with myself to the point where, like, I didn't want to hurt myself anymore, where it didn't feel good anymore. And then, with that came, I didn't eat, Oreos anymore. Like, they taste terrible. Like, meat that has been processed, like the, regular ordinary ground beef that you get, like, at a regular grocery store, it tastes like death. It smells like death, because I'm, like, just really in tune with it, and I really respect my body, and I just don't put things in it that, like, it makes it. I don't put things in my body that aren't in alignment with love and peace, Well, that's not true. I do still do that, but I don't do it enough where it tips the balance.
Yeah, you're listening to your body.
Yeah, it's like when I've had enough, I've had enough, and it's like I listen to the balance because I'm interested in living in the realm of peace, even though my paradox matrix was programmed actually when I was really little, until I was like 5. See, I think that's one of the reasons I'm so resilient, is because until I was like 5, my paradox matrix actually wasn't. I trusted everyone. I trusted everything. I was so open.
That's why I'm resilient too.
Until I was like 5, I had the best mom, like things were really great until I was like 5. And then my paradox matrix, when I was somewhere before age 7, started to get turned to war, and it took a long time to reset it because I didn't know what the fuck it was. I had to figure it out. But, yeah. What were you saying? Oh, the reason I'm so resilient as opposed to just deflated is people who didn't have those early years of nourishment are just deflated. Those are the ones you see on the street that are, smoking other people's cigarette butts because they didn't have those years of nourishment. Their paradox matrix did start in war. So they've got entirely different programming.
Yeah, you're so right. Yeah, I wonder that. I've gone down dark paths, and like there always seems like there's this foundation of love so strong that comes in and overpowers everything, and that's, I thank my mother and my father for being there and loving me and that programming. Yeah,
when you know that you've been loved super deeply, you can't really believe that you're not lovable.
No.
It's right. You can only believe that you're not lovable if you never ever got fully all the snuggles you needed. If you got all the snuggles you needed, I think you're all right.
We'll end it with the hug and the snuggle.
Totally. Yay. Conversations with you are so nourishing. I get so much downloaded.
I know, huh?
Pent up downloads are like being constipated energetically.